for every time somebody said to me, "Oh, you lucky things, you must have such a long break in the winter." Absolutely nonsense. The minute that those doors close on the last day of the season is actually when it all starts to happen.
Theme park and zoo deep in the North Yorkshire countryside. Over 1 million visitors came here last year, making it the 4th most popular theme park in the UK. There's been a zoo here since 1961. In 1978 it was bought by Scotsman Robert Gibb, who began turning Flamingo Land into the theme park it is today. When Robert Gibb died 6 years ago following a car crash, the business passed into the hands of his children. Of the top 5 theme parks in the UK, Flamingo Land is the only one that's still privately owned.
Sadly, it was probably the death of my father in 1995 that resulted in me coming to work for the company. As a little girl, I was probably, the one thing I was sure of was not working at Flamingo Land. But sadly, as I say, after my father died, we all got our heads together and decided that it was the best thing to do, and decided that nobody knew the park better than the Gibb family, hence who better to run it. And I have to say it was probably the best decision I've ever made.
Melanie's boss is her brother Gordon, who at 25 is 2 years younger than her.
Mrs. Wood?
Master Gibb, may I just take a seat?
Do you have an appointment?
No, I don't need one, your family.
I decided very early on in my career that my father's shoes couldn't be filled by anyone, so I haven't even tried. I'm a different person. I've got an ability to look differently at the park, and that's something that my father worked tirelessly with me on. He wanted me to be an individual. He'd turn over in his grave if he felt that I was trying to carve out a carbon copy of him. It's not what he wanted, and I hope that's not what I'm doing. I can't find anyone that would fit the bill for the job anyway. I want the little monsters to be the star. I want the new...
I agree.
Say it again?
I agree with
I just like that. Say it again?
I agree.
You agree to me wanting to save money?
Yeah. I agree with you. That's a first, isn't it? My brother is my dad, both from a characteristic point of view and from the way they think. I mean, sometimes if you walk into Gordon's office, which used to be my dad's office, it's just my dad sat there. It's spooky, really spooky.
Almighty help up in my career because of my family ties. Quite obviously, I'm sat where I am today because of the family involvement. But I'm also self-assured enough to think that I'm doing a reasonable job, which in turn makes me think that there are other young people out there that should be given positions of responsibility as well. I think there's a bit of a predisposition in Britain at the moment, possibly a type of days gone by, that if you're doing a responsible job, you should be very boring and have grey hair. Well, hopefully that's not the impression we give you at Flamingo Land, and hopefully I personify that, you know, it can be fun sometimes, that you don't have to have a bank manager's approach 9 to 5. My plans for Flamingo Land in the future are quite simple. I want to be #1. A lot of pundits out there wrote us off years ago. There was a general sort out about 8 years ago in the industry when traditionally parks were privately owned, and as the PLCs moved in, the privately owned operators disappeared, and I think a lot of pundits thought Flamingo Land was going to follow. But not only did we survive, we're competing with multinational companies on a like-for-like basis now. So I don't listen to what pundits say anymore as a result. And our ambition is no less than the #1 slot in the country. I decided to build a house here and sleep, eat and breathe it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, which is what I've done. It is very intensive, it's not for everybody, but I thrive on it. You are all that I want. I'm nothing without you, baby.
Search is beginning for the 300 or so temporary staff who will be needed to work at Flamingo Land over the 2001 season.
How old are you, please, Mark?
Not saying.
I've got it on your application form.
No, yeah,
I'll
I'll do that. 30 this year.
That's all right, that's fine. So obviously you're 21 plus, so your wages will go from there to low season to high season. It's the same as last year. Low season, 175 a week, which was the 9:30 till 5, and then high season 9:30 till 6 is 206 £206 a week.
Staff uniform, again, is subsidised. You need well, it's just straightforward purple shirt, purple jumper, your stone-coloured trousers, and there also is jackets. Okay? That's taking out your first week's wages, or the first 2 weeks' wages.
Do I have to do 6 days a week?
We prefer it.
This feeling tonight, shining bright like a city. You are all that I want. I'm nothing.
Flamingo Land claims to have more roller coasters than any other theme park in the UK. The countdown to the new season is a busy time for staff like Ian Bott, who works on the Magnum Force, Europe's only triple loop ride.
Well, Magnum, it's pretty much a white knuckle ride to a lot of people. It's, how would you say, a gut buster. Especially when you drop off. First drop there, I had to drive one. It's 90 degrees and it's a blast first thing in the morning, especially. It's the only bonus about our job. We get to riding before everyone else does. It's brilliant. Maintenance-wise, it's a lot of maintenance on it. First thing in the morning, 7 o'clock, we're here. Start checking the trains. There's all the trains here, as you can see. Drive belts, brake fins, wheels. They got something like 150 wheels we've got to check every morning. Reduction brake, we check that all the time. Because it comes in there at about 40 mile an hour with 10 tonne. And it's not supposed to come to a screaming halt, it's just supposed to slow you down nice and easy. So let's say it's an everyday event. Check all the nuts and bolts under there because it's just like your car basically. You want to have a good service on it. 10,000 runs it done, 2 trains. So that's 10,000 kilometres. And so everyone's car's got to go in for a good service 10,000 kilometres. No, I say 150 wheels, bearings, everything we've got to do. You know, if we're half an hour late, people say, oh, we paid to get on the ride, we want it at 10 o'clock, but we're only putting their safety in with it. We let it go with a crack wheel. Something happens, I couldn't live with myself.
It's an important day for the Magnum Force team. Independent consultants are here to complete their inspection of the ride.
Well, the objective, obviously, is for safety of the patrons for the following season. And to assure the safety of it, it's necessary for Flamingo Land every year to carry out this independent check, which consists of stripping the rides down, going through component by component, looking for fatigue to ensure the quality of the component, reassemble, and then the final check before the season starts. We started in November. We've seen various trains, all the various components of the train stripped down. We've carried out ultrasonic and magnetic tests on them, looking for metal fatigue. We're now to the point where we're doing the structure. We'll do a visual check of the structure. We'll do any magnetic particle inspection, which is a specialist method that looks for fatigue in steel. And we'll carry out just a general visual, looking for loose bolts, good attachment, good security of welds and so on. Ed? You see it?
Yeah. I think this is because of the previous mechanical damage.
It probably is. Obviously a bit of damp trapped in there, wasn't there? She was bleeding out a bit.
Yeah.
Okay, false alarm, Ian.
Oh, thank God for that.
We've got a defect on this side of the track. It's where you would expect it because it's where the track couples together. So obviously setting up a little bit of vibration, and obviously in the track attachments is the weakest area, you see. So the defect there is just in the attachment. It's not a real problem because it's not going into the actual metal of the track. So we're not particularly worried about it, but it is there and it is worth weld repairing to give it that extra strength.
Right, well, we've done the thorough examination, we've witnessed the functional test, and now the final part of the examination process is to take a ride to see that the ride is smooth and everything is just as it should be before we're open to the public.
This feeling at night, shining bright like a city. You are all that I want. I'm nothing without you, baby. Let's get closer tonight. The feeling is right, and watch the sparks ignite and light up the sky. Let's give into the night and never leave.
Work is going well on the park's new attraction for the 2001 season.
Well, we've been brought in by Flamingo Land to re-theme this entire area, and it's all going to be based on the little monsters. Oh, the whole area has been structured so it reflects the 5 new characters that are going to be introduced into this square. There's the little Dracula, little mummy, little Yeti, little spook, and little Frankenstein, and these characters will be everywhere within this square. Part of the Little Monsters Square is the Mischief Mansion, and that is going to involve a ride in ultraviolet. The whole mansion is under repair by these 5 little characters, and things go wrong. Hopefully for your entertainment and enjoyment.
It's my favourite roller coaster. I can see it whirling and twirling, and I can't believe it. There's 1, 2, and an amazing 3 loops. I've never seen anything like this before. It's called the Magnum Force.
It's Professor Bubble's dream machine. It's about an old eccentric professor that dreams up all the rides that are on the park. He's the guy that created them because he dreamt them, and we're going to bring them alive and sing the songs and sort of build the show around what he's been dreaming, and hopefully have a big dream machine on the stage eventually when we can get around to getting that sorted. But for now we're just sort of concentrating on getting the dancers sorted out and stuff.
Okay guys, I don't know what happened in that, you know. Click in time with the music, come on, it's not that hard. And remember, keep the energy up, keep smiling, yeah? You know, it's easy. Perform, have fun.
It's only 3 weeks until the park is due to open for the 2001 season, but Britain is in the grip of the foot and mouth crisis.
The opening is probably the most important aspect that it's going to affect. The uncertainty that the disease has brought has just made a lot of things unclear. Will we be able to open on April the 1st as planned, or will we have to delay the opening? We don't know.
It's time for 3 of Flamingo Land's winter guests to go home.
This is the dart, and what we've got is I've got my anaesthetic in here, retained in there by a little plastic sleeve covering over this needle, and it's got a tiny little hole in it. So when it goes into the animal, the sleeve is pushed back and the liquid is squirted into the animal. Well, the trick is to get this in the right place in the cat. And we fire it into her using a compressed gas cylinder. And everyone thinks I'm a good shot, but actually it's got a laser sight on it, so it tells me where I'm firing. So that's fairly straightforward, really. So we'll see how we get on. The lions belong to Chessington Zoo, and they want them back. They don't carry foot and mouth, so there's no problem about moving them. We're allowed to do that legally. What we've been really waiting for was to make sure we had no foot and mouth here, no foot and mouth at Chessington, and the journey they took between A and B was clear of foot and mouth. But even so, we're taking every precaution we can. Last thing we want is foot and mouth in the zoo.
The foot and mouth crisis has been devastating towards us. The winter trade we've been building up over the last couple of years had been going very well. Half term had been excellent, and unfortunately everything couldn't have come at a worse time. everything we take for granted we've had to stop. Contractors, visitors to the zoo, and on the run up to opening, every day is crucial. Most of the contractors have been pulled off site. There's very rigorous cleaning programs before people can come in and out of the zoo. It all takes time, and normal things like moving animals around has had to stop. We had a lot of new arrivals are waiting to come, and we had a lot of departures waiting to go, and everything has had to be stopped.
Hey Woody. Hey mate, you alright? Woody's our tapir here. He arrived quite a few weeks ago with the intention that he'd be going out into his new environment, new paddock, and also we had a mate that was coming up to see him. Unfortunately, because of the foot and mouth issue, we cannot move any stock. We can't have contractors on site, so therefore his paddock isn't ready. And our female, of course, can't come. So he's desperately waiting for her to get here, but until we know exactly what's happening, we just have to wait and see. Boy, we'll see you later. What's your nose? My name's Alison Bosch. I work here at the zoo as a veterinary nurse and also as a relief keeper. So I do a lot of different things. I actually live on site, right in the middle of the zoo. And I have, my husband works as a fitter on the roller coaster, and my 2 children at schools locally here. As you can probably imagine, I'm from Australia. I live just outside of Brisbane, so it's much warmer than it is here. My husband Ian is also from the same area, but we do both have dual citizenship, which is why we're here. Basically experimenting the lovely English weather. A typical day doesn't exist for me. Because I'm the veterinary nurse, it can change. When we have vet visits, my day changes completely. If we have surgery, I have to do, help with the vet with surgical procedures, get everything done there. As being a relief keeper, it depends on what day it is. I cover for anybody. So I cover children's farm, I cover primate section, reptile house, meerkats, wallabies, depending on who's off basically and whatever it entails. The zoo has changed quite dramatically in the last 2 years with the introduction of a new zoo manager. We hadn't had a zoo manager for quite a while. Things were a little bit of a standstill. A lot of things weren't getting done because we didn't have the person to go and push for it all. Andrew has had a lot changed. Some things good, some things keepers haven't been as impressed with, but on a whole it has improved the zoo aspect in general. Things that we really wanted doing have finally been done, which is great.
My brief as a zoo manager when I arrived at Flamingo Land 18 months ago was to change Flamingo Land Zoo for the better, make it more attractive for people to look at, work very closely with the staff to bring it forward into the 21st century and to move along with the other standards which have been set throughout the park. I wouldn't say I'm not a huge animal lover. I think I do enjoy animals, but from a distance. I think you've got to manage them with an open mind, etc. And sometimes it doesn't always pay to be too close.
Yupsies. My name's Ruth Wesley and I'm head keeper at Flamingo Land. I've been head keeper for 2.5 years now. You get as much out of a job as you put into it, and I always like to think that I've put 90%, 100% into the job I've done here. And everybody in North Yorkshire basically worked here as a seasonal worker. When I was very young, I came to work here in catering, and a job came up on the children's farm, which was when I was due to leave school. I finished my O-levels in the morning and came to work here in the afternoon. I was very fortunate to get a job here then, because you could literally walk into any job when I was 16. Nowadays you'd need to go to college, university, get a degree in zoology. It still doesn't always make you a good zookeeper, but that's the qualifications that you need nowadays. We've had the wapiti in for the winter. One of the main reasons was we needed them to get their feet worn down, because last year we had trouble with overgrown feet. So this year, rather than them be out in the wet paddock for the whole winter, we wanted to bring them inside where they've got a good big hard yard and indoor quarters. So for the first year we've had the wapiti fastened in, but they were very, very ready for going out. We've finished all the field work we were doing out there. We've had a fence taken down, we've had a new fence put up, and it was time to release them. So that's what we've just done, and very satisfactory it was too. So it's always nice to see animals going out in the spring when they've been in the indoor quarters. So very excited, yeah. They want to come back in now, bless them. So nice, I love to see them running about when they've been fastened in like that.
There's a problem with one of the park's most popular roller coasters, the Bullet. 11 of the park's rides weren't running on the opening day of last season, a situation the management is anxious not to repeat this year.
The ride operates, it's driven out to the station, it comes up this elevated platform here. As the train comes back down, it should kick a second set of drive motors in to launch the train back through the loop and into the station. What seems to have happened is, and this is happening over the last 2 seasons I believe, that it doesn't always cut the second set of motors in, so the train doesn't always get back to the station.
All hands on deck on the Bullet. There's no way we can open the park without this attraction running. It will be fairly catastrophic in terms of negative publicity. There'll be a whole ream of people asking for refunds because we're so famous for this piece of equipment. So it really is urgent that we start with a bang. 2001 and the Bullet's up and running.
What if the unthinkable happens and you're not able to identify the problem and solve it by the time the park opens in less than 3 days' time?
I'm in trouble.
Every minute really does count now. Progress is good, I'd have to say. You can feel the buzz about the place. Things are beginning to happen. I think people are just woken up now and realised there's a park to open. So hibernation is over, well and truly.
Next Tuesday on Theme Park, will the Bullet keep Phil out of trouble?
Hopefully different faults that we'll investigate and hopefully resolve fairly quickly.
And the park's new attraction is behind schedule.
3 days will mean that, in a nutshell, this ride will not open on time.